One of the most talked about names in Love and Hip Hop, Mendeecees Harris, just did something that nobody anticipated. He's finally leaving the show that made him famous after years of conflicts in the industry, family drama, and controversy. This isn't just a straightforward departure, though. It's a bombshell that has fans in disbelief and with a lot of concerns. What actually took place behind the scenes? Was he forced out, or did he decide to go? Furthermore, would Mendeecees' career come to an end as a result of this? His departure is more than simply a news story. It's a controversy that is developing in real time, complete with shocking allegations, covert betrayals, and a decision that might potentially alter everything. We're going to reveal the true story of Mendeecees' abrupt departure, the ensuing pandemonium, and the stunning turns that nobody anticipated, so stay tuned. You won't want to miss this story, I assure you. Nobody refused to accept it. Until now, despite the rumors that had been going about for weeks. Officially, Mendeecees Harris, a veteran of Love and Hip Hop, was finished. His departure wasn't a silent, covert choice. No, it was clumsy, explosive, and dramatic. No one anticipated that the animosity between Mendeecees and the producers would escalate to this degree, according to people close to the show. That last straw? A furious dispute that happened behind closed doors and was so intense that it rocked the entire production. An insider claims that things were so dire that security had to intervene in order to defuse the situation. But how exactly did this happen? What caused Mendeecees to abruptly lose his place on a show that had been his home for years? When Mendeecees started to doubt how he was being portrayed, it all began. In his opinion, the filmmakers were promoting a tale that was inconsistent with reality, portraying him as the antagonist while allowing others to dictate their own perception. Being the one constantly caught in the crossfire was becoming old to him. He had already experienced enough public crisis. He didn't receive the desired response, though, when he voiced his worries to Mona Scott-Young, the influential figure behind Love and Hip Hop. Mona pretended to be listening, according to an insider. But what about behind the scenes? She didn't want to hear it. She had her own idea for the show, and Mendeecees was disposable if he didn't agree. It was a stark realization for Mendeecees. For this franchise, he had dedicated years of his life. For reality TV, he had displayed his personal life, his hardships, and even his relationship with Yandy, and he was now being treated as though he didn't exist. He was unable to accept that thought. However, Mona wasn't the only person Mendeecees had issues with. Other members of the cast were reportedly trying to force him out behind the scenes. First on that list, too, that would be Yandy Smith herself. You heard correctly, yes. Insiders say that although Yandy was always viewed by fans as Mendeecees' ride or die, their marriage was not as stable as it seemed on television. For months, the two had been dealing with significant problems, and Yandy retreated as Mendeecees began to make a big impression on set. Unlike in the past, she did not publicly defend him. She didn't stand up for him. She left Mendeecees to fend for himself by concentrating on her own appearance, company, and brand. Then things really started to change. Mendeecees started talking more freely about his frustrations, even in front of cameras. Initially, producers adored it. They believed that his and Yandy's conflict would make for excellent television. It became awkward, though, when he began criticizing the show itself. He changed from being a vital member to a liability. According to the insider, Mendeecees was saying things on tape that the producers didn't want to show. He was revealing the staged moments and pointing out how some sequences had been altered to cast him in a negative light. At that point, it became evident that he would not be around for long. A casting meeting that swiftly got out of hand was the tipping point. Having been pushed into a corner, Mendeecees made the decision to voice his opinions. He said that the producers were preparing him for failure by tampering with his plot. "What are you all asking me to do? Why don't you just sit here and let me be destroyed?" He apparently yelled. "No, I'm not going to do that. I understand the situation. Do you guys want me gone from here?" Simply put, state that. The room shook when he said those words. A number of the actors were stunned into silence. Others made an effort to minimize it by pretending he was merely exaggerating. However, one individual, Mona herself, was not going to give him the last word. At that point, the actual fireworks started. Known for maintaining her cool, Mona didn't mince words this time. She made it plain that she would not allow Mendeecees to control the plot of the program by getting up from her chair and turning to face him. "Do you believe that this is all about you?" According to reports, she retaliated. "You don't operate this. I do. The way things are going bothers you. So perhaps you shouldn't be here." She spoke in a dagger-like manner. A spooky silence descended upon the room as Mendeecees gazed at her, attempting to comprehend the events that had transpired. It was that they had already decided. He was not there. Mendeecees was departing Love and Hip Hop, according to the news that surfaced the following morning. However, supporters were unaware that this was war, not simply a simple parting. Mendeecees wasn't merely silently leaving. He spoke in great detail. Furthermore, he would not hold anything back. With Mendeecees out and the aftermath just getting started, the word got out like wildfire. Fans were stunned. What caused the sudden disappearance of someone who had played a significant role in Love and Hip Hop for so long? Theories abound on social media, but none realized that Mendeecees wasn't finished speaking. He had allowed producers to distort his reality into whatever drama they need for ratings for years, playing along with the show's plot. But now, with everything he had left to lose, he was being forced out. And that's when the shocking interview occurred. To rock the entire Love and Hip Hop enterprise, Mendeecees got down for an exclusive tell-all a few days after the news surfaced. His real words left everyone stunned, as fans had hoped he would dispel rumors and perhaps even lessen the blow. Across from a famous interviewer, Mendeecees didn't mince words. Initially composed, his annoyance became increasingly apparent as the discussion went on. He remarked, shaking his head, "They didn't just kick me off. They arranged for me. They ensured my departure because they wanted me gone." The interviewer leaned closer, demanding more information. "Who are they? Are we referring to Mona here? Who are the producers, the rest of the cast?" Mendeecees hesitated, carefully selecting his words. To put it simply, if you start to pose a threat to the people in authority, they will stop at nothing to get rid of you. There was an obvious sense of tension in the room. This was now about power, control, and treachery, not just a TV show. Then he made a shocking revelation. Mendeecees stated, "I have receipts. They were attempting to push me out before I even realized it, as evidenced by the emails and texts I received." The interviewer's gaze expanded. "You mean this was prearranged?" Nodding, Mendeecees said, "They wanted me gone long ago. All they needed to do was give the impression that I was at blame." For the industry, this news was a shock. In the event that Mendeecees' claims were accurate, Love and Hip Hop had been preparing for his failure for months. The true question, however, was why. At that point, Mendeecees disclosed something that nobody had anticipated. "It all began when I learned something I wasn't supposed to know," he remarked, his voice now a little lower. There would have been a significant change. The interviewer leaned more closely. "What was it?" Mendeecees was a little hesitant, as though he wasn't sure if he should say it at all. He looked away from the camera. Finally, after taking a long breath, he spoke. "A bargain that was done behind my back was revealed to me. A deal involving people I cared about, individuals I had faith in." The room was eerily quiet. Hardly, the interviewer gulped. "You mean Yandy was involved?" Mendeecees took a while to respond. Rather, he gazed down at his hands, perhaps considering the ramifications of his next words. Then he nodded his head. He acknowledged she knew. "She didn't inform me, even though she knew what was happening." That's all. That was the turning point in history. As a couple who had endured the most trying times together, Mendeecees and Yandy were always viewed by fans as a cohesive unit. But now, the foundation appeared to have fissures that had previously gone unnoticed. Social media was ablaze. Some fans supported Mendeecees. claiming that Yandy had always prioritized her brand over loyalty. Some expressed disapproval, claiming that he was simply upset over being removed from the program. While the internet debated, Mendeecees continued to speak. Because of what he stated after that truly changed the game. He stated, "I was treated differently for a reason. The reason they wanted me removed. I refused to play the game the way they wanted me to, which is why." The interviewer scowled at that. "By that, what do you mean?" Mendeecees gave a quick exhale. "People are unaware of a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. Alliances, power struggles, and deals. The wrong individuals will make sure you don't stay around for very long." He then stated something that left everyone speechless. Several of these alleged reality stars, they are not in charge of their own careers. They're under control. If you refuse to comply, you are replaced by them. The interviewer sat back in obvious disbelief. Mona Scott Young was pulling all the strings, is that correct? Mendeecees grinned condescendingly. "Let's just say that some people have far more power than they hope you all realize." Tension was palpable in the room. No one dared to speak out about what Mendeecees had recently revealed. He had revealed Love and Hip Hop in a way that was impossible to ignore, and the repercussions, they were going to strike like a seismic wave. Mendeecees made a final speech that altered the course of events, just when everyone believed the drama had reached its climax. "They believe that this is over," he stated. "However, I can assure you that it's only the beginning." After saying that, the interview came to a close. The ensuing mayhem, however, began as soon as the interview was broadcast. The social media landscape was ablaze. In real time, Mendeecees' words were being analyzed by fans, bloggers, and even celebrities. However, Yandy's response was the true surprise. She remained silent for the first few hours following the interview. Too silent. She was usually quick to dispel rumors, but this time, not a thing, and the speculation was only stoked by that silence. Then, late that evening, she finally spoke up. In a since-deleted Instagram Live, Yandy appeared cool despite her emotions. Before she could speak, she took a deep breath. "I wasn't even going to deal with this," she shook her head. "Let's discuss it though, as Mendeecees wants to mention me." The chat room was overflowing with comments. Everyone was anticipating her side. Yandy went on, her tone steady yet tremulous. "I have things I could say that would ruin everything. I won't do it though. Whether he realizes it or not, I genuinely care about Mendeecees, which is why I have the receipts." The comments were tense beyond belief. Followers wanted to know if she was disputing or verifying what Mendeecees had claimed. Her own bombshell was then dropped. "Mendeecees, do you truly want to pretend that you're the victim? As if you had no idea what was going on." She shook her head in a sneer. "Stop playing, boy. That was the only requirement." Within minutes, the internet changed. Mendeecees' claims were no longer the exclusive topic of conversation. They were now curious about what he was concealing. When Mona Scott Young joined the debate, however, the actual mayhem began. Love and Hip Hop's creator, Mona, had always avoided getting involved in cast drama. She never publicly intervened, letting the plots unfold. But this time, it was different. For the first time in her life, Mona Scott Young addressed a scandal head-on. She just said, "Some people rewrite history when it doesn't work in their favor. Keep that in mind." In a brief but enigmatic statement on her Instagram story. But that was sufficient. There were serious ramifications. Was she implying that Mendeecees was lying? Did she have a larger hint in mind? When the genuine bombshell was revealed, fans scrambled to figure out what she was trying to say. Producers' emails were released by a well-known Love and Hip Hop insider who has been working on the show for years. What did it uncover? Everything was altered. The emails, which were sent months before Mendeecees was fired, demonstrated one thing. His departure was prearranged before all of this drama began. One email, purportedly from a senior producer, expressed worries about Mendeecees' contribution to the program, saying, "He's not providing the necessary drama anymore. We might have to start transitioning him out if he doesn't want to play ball." That one sentence reaffirmed what Mendeecees had been saying the entire time. They had been conspiring against him. The responses came quickly. Supporters came to his rescue, accusing Mona and the Love and Hip Hop crew of behind-the-scenes manipulation of the actors. Others criticized Yandy, claiming that she must have been aware of what was going on and still allowed it to occur. Although there was disagreement on the internet, Mendeecees wasn't finished yet. He had receipts with him when he went live on Instagram, just as things were reaching their zenith. He pulled up his phone and flipped through the messages, texts, emails, and screenshots while seated in front of the camera. Although he didn't display them all, he read enough to support his argument. "They believe they could manipulate me," he stated. "But I've been playing this game for too long, so they forgot. I can see the movements before they take place." The remarks were furious. Supporters urged him to reveal everything and to destroy all the invoices. But he ended the live stream just as the pressure was mounting. And that's when things took an unexpected turn, because screenshots began to emerge from an unidentified account immediately after Mendeecees logged out. Emails from producers, text exchanges between cast members, and even a contract provision that suggested the true reason Mendeecees was fired were among the leaks. What's the most startling aspect? It implied that the producers had always been collaborating with a close associate of Mendeecees, someone who had assisted in his expulsion, someone he had faith in. Fans quickly began blaming Yandy, even though the name wasn't specifically mentioned in the leaks. The idea was straightforward. Producers required a close friend or relative to support their plan to have Mendeecees removed. Who is more qualified than his own spouse? Yandy received a ton of comments on social media in a matter of minutes. People were asking for clarification. Was she a traitor to Mendeecees? Did she create the situation? However, a second leak surfaced before Yandy could reply. And this one? Everything was altered, since it had nothing to do with Mendeecees. The subject was another cast member who had experienced a similar expulsion. And the name that was mentioned, Jones Jim. Jim had reportedly been fired from Love and Hip Hop years prior for similar reasons, according to the stolen emails. He was told that his plot wasn't working, pushed into needless drama, and then let go. History was happening again, and now the fans demanded blood. Initially, Mendeecees had revealed his own failure, but now the pattern he had inadvertently revealed indicated that Love and Hip Hop had been coercing cast members for years. What's the most insane part? In the closing seconds of his interview, Mendeecees alluded to the ultimate disclosure he had still to make. And what did he intend to say? The whole sector would be rocked. Mendeecees had begun something that he was now unable to halt. A personal battle against Hip Hop and Love had evolved into a full-fledged movement. Former cast members began to speak out in increasing numbers. Resurfaced were old secrets. Re-examining previous incidents, fans were curious about the extent of behind-the-scenes manipulation. The biggest surprise, too, the network was reportedly thinking of permanently discontinuing the program. Mendeecees, though, he had not finished yet, because everyone was rendered speechless by his final announcement. Once the dust settled, he would never return to reality TV. It was more than simply giving up Love and Hip Hop. The industry was finished by Mendeecees. And he took an unexpected step to demonstrate it. He erased every Instagram post. This believing fans reloaded his page. Everything was gone. The statements, the drama. Hours later, he finally posted a single black and white picture of himself with the simple words, "Sometimes you gotta walk away for good." Thank you to my true supporters. No more cameras, no more phony stories, just genuine life. The comment section blew up. People found it hard to believe. His decision to take charge of his own life made some people proud. Others questioned whether this was really a publicity stunt and expressed skepticism. However, one thing was certain. Mendeecees had formally severed their relationship with Love and Hip Hop. The network, too. They had to hurry, because the plot of Yandy was unraveling without him. Their intermittent drama had been a major draw for the show for years. But now, The producers were coming under fire from fans who believed they had staged the couple's issues to boost their ratings. However, Yandy said nothing for a long time. However, when she did speak, it simply made everything more difficult. She'd appeared exhausted, depleted, and as like she hadn't slept in days during an Instagram live. She added in a low, nearly dejected voice, "You guys don't even know half of what's been going on behind the scenes. I simply need time to process everything," she said without providing any confirmation. She didn't make any claims. Fans, however, were led to assume that she and Mendeecees had reached a breaking point because of that. And then, just when everyone believed that things couldn't get much worse, there was another shocking revelation. Mendeecees and a Love and Hip Hop producer were allegedly involved in a heated altercation on a leaked recording. A voice that sounded a lot like Mendeecees could be heard on the recording saying, "I've been going along with you guys for years, but I'm done with it. You guys are twisting things and making me look crazy. I'm not signing any more contracts, and I'm not coming back. You guys can find someone else to play the villain." The producer's response was mute, but it was clear that he was frustrated. This was Mendeecees' outspoken criticism of the show's management, not merely a disagreement. Without warning, the story changed. The Mendeecees' departure was no longer the only issue. He left, and that was the reason. Fans wanted explanations. How much of what they had seen over the years was scripted and how much was real was the question they sought to answer. Members of the cast began sharing their personal stories. Mendeecees were supported by some who claimed that the makers had also deceived them. Some made an effort to defend the program, saying that while reality TV was always scripted to some extent, it wasn't necessarily phony. The harm, however, was already done. The entire network was in crisis mode. Executives were frantically attempting to minimize the situation in their statements. However, the more they attempted to manipulate the story, the worse things became. In an attempt to distinguish between what had been made up for entertainment purposes and what had actually happened, fans started downloading old clips from previous seasons and dissecting every altercation, breakup, and startling event. Suddenly, even the cast members who had remained quiet for years spoke up. Then the most important question of all arose. What would become to Mendeecees and Yandy at this point? If Mendeecees stopped doing reality TV, would their marriage still be intact? Speculation that their relationship was destined for television has long existed. That they would have little left over if the show, contracts, and popularity were to disappear. It now appeared as though they will soon discover whether or not such was the case. It was rumored that Yandy was having difficulty making the choice. She was reportedly devastated by Mendeecees' departure, according to some reports. According to some, she was thinking about quitting Love and Hip Hop. However, there was no doubt that things would never be the same again. Once at the heart of the show, the power couple was no longer there. Additionally, their lives were about to become entirely unscripted for the first time in years. However, just when fans believed the turmoil was finished, Mendeecees did something that rocked the business. "I'm writing a tell-all book," he declared. Not just any book either, one that would reveal everything. All of his deceptions, deceit, and hidden secrets during his years on reality TV. What's the title? Mendeecees Harris' True Story, Unscripted. In an instant, the world recognized that, despite his departure from Love and Hip Hop, Mendeecees had not finished sharing his narrative. Not yet. Would the novel disclose startling details about Yandy? Would it reveal the manufacturers? Would it permanently destroy Love and Hip Hop? Nobody was certain. There was no doubt, though, that Mendeecees had just permanently altered reality TV. What about this? This was just the start of his next phase. Suddenly, the narrative of Mendeecees Harris in Love and Hip Hop has taken a surprising turn. All of this, his exit, the conflict behind the scenes, the leaked recordings, begs the crucial question, was Love and Hip Hop ever really real, or was it all a masterfully constructed delusion? It leaves fans wondering what will happen next. Will Yandy resign from the show like he did? Will Mendeecees' candid book reveal even more startling facts? Most significantly, has hip-hop and love truly found a match? Now, however, we would want to hear from you. Does Mendeecees' decision to leave seem like the appropriate one in your opinion? Is he going to launch something even more ambitious, or is this the end of his career? What about Yandy? Do you think she was more knowledgeable than she admitted? This is far from the end of the discussion, so please share your ideas in the comments section below. Hit the subscribe button and enable notifications if you want to be informed of all the most recent developments. You won't want to miss what occurs next, I promise. This is just the beginning of a narrative.